Hi everyone, my name is Meredith. Today I want to talk about my writing goals for 2023, all of the projects that I hope to work on, and all the things that I want to accomplish. I'm sitting down to film this right after I film my video about everything that I accomplished in 2022. So if you haven't seen that, that would be great context for what I'm going to talk about in this video, so I'm going to link that up here in the cards. And if you go on to enjoy this video, give it a like and also subscribe to see more from me. I post videos twice a week and I will be doing some really fun stuff in January, as I am about to tell you. So how I want to structure this video, I want to tell you about the projects that I have in mind, the big goals I have for those projects, and then break those down by month. Okay, so a couple goals. So short stories, I don't have specific goals for short stories. It is not my specific genre. I haven't studied short stories. I've written several of them, but the only plans that I have for the coming year are to edit 2 of the ones that I wrote previously. And basically, if any short story ideas strike me and I feel very compelled to write them, I will write them. But I don't know if I see that happening, but I'll leave room and space in my mind and in my life to do that if I want to. It's just not a huge priority for me, and that's totally fine because I'm not typically a short story writer. However, with poetry, it's a different story. So last year, I wrote a lot of things that kind of expressed my emotions, and that was really great, and I would call them poems, but I don't know how much I'm going to do with them. And I did write a couple that I do have an idea for what I'm going to do with them, and I plan to edit them and make them better, but basically I want to write a lot more of those in the coming year. I think I probably want to do a challenge or 2 about poetry, maybe writing a poem a day, something like that, to get me inspired about it. So I want to make a habit of it. I want to get better at it. So poetry is a huge goal of mine. I don't have a specific number goal of poems. I do know that I'm going to be incorporating it into my life in some type of daily rhythm. So that's the short stuff. That's poetry and short fiction. Moving right along past those kind of smaller goals, let's talk about the big writing goals. First of all, in order to talk about this, you need to be familiar with the 3 projects that I am thinking about working on in the next year. Number 1 is called SFTL. The current state of it is that I have written a pantsed 0 draft that was way too long, and I rewrote it, and I have not edited that draft. And my big goal with it is to edit it to a draft 2, send it to an alpha reader, who is my husband, and then with his notes, turn it into a draft 3. It's basically the project that I want to push forward the most because it is already the furthest ahead, and so it's the furthest to a completed project, and so I want to keep working on it and just make sure that I am able to complete something and to push through with something even if it's hard. The second project that I want to work on is called The Rat's Nest, and that is the project that I just wrote for NaNoWriMo and then wrote a lot of it in December, and I'm almost done. I'm so close. I'll be done with it very soon. Let's just say this book is at a draft 1 phase. My basic goal with that is either if it's going to be a rewrite or if it's going to be a heavily developmentally edited draft, to get a draft 2. So I want a draft 2 of it. That's something that I can send off to my husband to read by the end of the year. And then my third project that I'm going to be working on, I have not worked on at all yet. It's something I'm planning basically for NaNoWriMo next year, and it's called, I'm going to call it RR. So it's going to take some work to get it actually up to something that I can draft, but the goal is to draft that in November. So those are my 3 projects. That's where they are. So now let's look at a calendar. This is my calendar. I've divided it into 12 quadrants. So first, what are we doing in January? The bulk of January is going to be dedicated to returning to the rewrite of SFTL, and the first thing that I'm going to do is read it all back. So do the reread and come up with a solid editing plan. The other big thing I have on the list for January is to really work through some writing craft books that I already have lined up and thought about that are going to basically guide me through the initial editing process until I can kind of find my footing. So I'm also going to be reading and probably reviewing a bunch of writing craft books, basically as a curriculum for myself. Okay, in February, we get deep into the SFTL edits. We are done with the reread, we are done with the plan, we get into the edits. It's going to take a month, probably it should take longer, but I don't really know because I haven't really seriously done like an edit with a document that I'm keeping before I just threw it out and rewrote it. So now I have to actually work with it. So I'm going to give myself 1 month for like heavy developmental edits and also like working with the craft books and kind of trying out the craft methods. In January, we've got rereads, and here we've got big developmental edit. Okay, March, either continuing developmental edits or I'm hoping that most of the month can be more dedicated towards smaller edits. I want to get it up to the level where somebody could actually read it and enjoy their time, more like prose level edits as well in March. What this comes down to is the first 3 months of the year, January, February, March, they're going to be dedicated toward editing SFTL, the rewrite, and getting it to the point where I can let my husband read it and have him give actually constructive critiques that I just wasn't able to see myself. So he's going to get some time in the spring to read through and carefully comb through it and give all of his edits and stuff. So during that time, I need to put this book away and bring out my other book, which is The Rat's Nest. So we're basically going to do the same structure, which is in April, we're going to do the reread and the editing plan and basically figure out if I need to rewrite or if I think that I can actually salvage it and edit it. So this is where all the uncertainty comes into it, because basically after April, nothing is clear about what's going to happen. But the basic plan is that April, May, June, July, and August are going to basically be dedicated to editing The Rat's Nest and SFTL on and off for whichever one needs more help to get them to the draft stages that I want to have them at by the end of the year. So basically, I won't know how things are going to go until I know if I'm going to have to rewrite The Rat's Nest. Essentially what I'm doing is just blocking out all of the spring and summer for shifting between the edits on these two books. The big takeaway is that I don't want to edit them simultaneously, but I want to focus on one for a large chunk of time and then put it away and focus on the other one for a large chunk of time and then put it away, and always have something to be working on when I need that mental break from the other project. So we're gonna bounce. So the second line is basically April is the only month where I really know what's going to happen, which is where I'm just going to assess The Rat's Nest and see what needs to go on while my husband is reading SFTL Draft 2. And then for the rest of the spring, so May, June, July, and August, you can see there, are going to just be continuing on with those edits, working on Draft 2 for Rat's Nest, Draft 3 for SFTL. And so then August is kind of my final goal, where what I want to happen, and it's okay if this doesn't, it's so okay. Basically, there's so much empty space here that there's time for things to go off the rails and be unexpected, and that's okay. I think I've given myself enough time to accomplish them. I just don't know really the nuts and bolts of how that's going to work. So what I would love and what I will work towards is for both of these projects that I'm editing the entire January through August to be sent off to readers in September or the very, very end of August, and to basically say goodbye to the edits on both of those for like a while, until the new year really. And to just not think about them, because I'll have thought about them for the entire year. And then at that point, start something new. September is going to be my catch-all month. Basically, if one of those projects still needs more time, it'll bleed over into September. I do actually have a plan for September, assuming that both of my editing books go off to readers at the end of August. And that is, I want to start the major planning, plotting, world building of my NaNoWriMo book, which is my third project, the baby little seed that doesn't have any planning or any writing done on it yet. Okay, so for September, I've written down spillover month, where if I need to keep editing SFTL before I send to beta readers, I'll keep doing it in that month. But the real goal of September is to prep-tember my NaNoWriMo book so that I can actually write it in November. Which means, what the heck is October for? October, let me tell you. So this is because of the lessons I learned this past year with NaNoWriMo. And basically, I now know that I am incapable of writing a book under 100,000 words. And even if I am, if I start in November, that's running straight into Christmas, which it's 2 days before Christmas right now, and I am heavily drafting still. So I don't want to do that next year. Like, the plan that I don't want to change is to start drafting the third book in October. So it's not Preptober, it is starting the draft. So the goal is to write half of that book in October, like 50,000 words-ish. So now our fall looks like this. So we've got October over here, draft the first half of this book, and then NaNoWriMo, do NaNoWriMo, draft the second half of the book, and hope for about 100,000 words in that book by December. Okay, so now you ask, what the heck is going on with December? Well, I don't want a repeat of what happened this year. So December is finish this book, but like, hopefully I'll only have like a week or two of work to do on it before I can just put that draft away. And then I'm going to rest I know that sounds nuts because when have I ever taken a break in my entire life? Pretty much never. So I'm going to schedule at least 2 weeks of total break from writing, and basically focus on reading and focus on poetry and journaling in December of next year, because that's what I had planned for this year, but I didn't know myself well enough to be able to accomplish that. And so the draft ran way over, and I wasn't able to start it earlier, and I wasn't able to plan it better. So now I know, and I'm giving myself all of September so that I can actually have a break in December. Okay, that's December. Finish RR and rest. That is my entire plan for 2023. Time for reference as visual help. Over here on this side, ignore this. These are my word counts for the year. So this is what I want to accomplish. SFTL, draft. You know, we've already got 0 and 1 this year, so we're going to get 2 and 3 next year. For Rat's Nest, I've already written 1 this year. I want 2 next year. And then for RR, just finish draft 1. That's the whole year at a glance. I want you to know that I had not planned this in detail until I sat down and did this video, which is probably why it's a little bit chaotic. So now that I've actually sat down and planned it, this is interesting because not knowing what the heck I'm going to be doing for the entire middle part of the year is like, that's interesting. But I will figure it out. So there's a lot of room for flexibility, I think. I think it's a good plan. I think it's a loose plan, but I think it has deadlines that are going to motivate me. And it also has like very definite, solid goals by the end of the year that I want to have accomplished. And they all make a lot of sense to me. They're very attainable. And they're also moving forward 3 projects at one time. And we're bumping each project up 1 more level of polished and ready to send to an agent. I think that I can absolutely learn a lot and have a blast doing it. So this is the plan. I just want to say on the idea of planning in general, life sometimes throws curveballs at you, like health stuff can get in the way. For me specifically, that has been true. I'm just gonna keep working towards it with everything that I have, as long as that's good for me. And so I think I'm pretty good at like self-regulating and hitting goals that I want to, and letting other ones slide if they're not important to me. So if I don't hit these, I'll hit them in the next year. But I think these are pretty attainable. So I think we're gonna have a really fun time. And basically, this just seems like a really fun year of working on a bunch of different things and like just really being able to dive into making something better when all I've been able to do previously is make something exist. And so it's a whole new skill, it's a whole new world of writing, and I'm really excited about it. I just think it's so cool that I can share these goals with you and that I can keep myself accountable and that I can hope to live up to them in the coming year. I never know kind of what's going to happen, but I hope that at the end of the year I can look back at this video and say, yeah, I did those things and I learned a lot and I didn't do all of them perfectly, but going forward I know how to do them better, and hopefully in the next year, I can have an even better idea of what I'm capable of and reach even higher. I would love to hear what goals you have for the new year if you are planning on pushing forward a project, or, you know, if you have any querying goals, if you're close to querying or, you know, getting published or anything like that. So I would love to hear all about it in the comments. So let me know. Thanks so much for watching the writing goals that I have for 2023. I will see you in the next video. Bye.